Lena's story began in the small, tightly knit village of Mahoning Hollow, nestled deep in the Appalachian Mountains. The village was a place where everyone knew everyone, where traditions had been upheld for generations, and where any deviation from the norm was met with suspicion. For Lena, this was both home and a source of unending struggle. From the moment Lena was born, she was different. Her fiery red hair and piercing green eyes stood out in a village where most people had dark hair and muted features. But it wasn't just her appearance that set her apart, it was her mind. Even as a child, Lena asked questions that made the villagers uncomfortable. "Why do we do things this way?" she'd ask. "Isn't there a better way?" The elders would shake their heads and mutter, "That's just the way it's always been." By the time Lena was 10, she had earned a reputation as a troublemaker. Her ideas were seen as rebellious, and her questions as disrespectful. Teachers dismissed her as disruptive, and neighbors whispered behind her back. Even her parents struggled with how to handle her. "Why can't you just fit in, Lena?" her mother would plead. "It would make things so much easier for all of us." But fitting in wasn't in Lena's nature. She wanted more than the life Mahoning Hollow seemed to offer. She dreamed of seeing the world beyond the mountains, of learning new things, and of making a difference. Yet, her dreams only alienated her further. By the time Lena turned 18, the whispers had become unbearable. "She'll never amount to anything," the villagers said. "She's just a nuisance." Even her parents, worn down by the constant judgment, seemed to pull away. On the night of her high school graduation, Lena made a decision that would change her life forever. With nothing but a suitcase and a handful of savings, Lena boarded a bus to New York City. The bustling metropolis was a world away from the quiet village she had called home. The towering skyscrapers, the cacophony of car horns, and the sheer diversity of people were overwhelming at first, but they also filled Lena with a sense of possibility. She found a small apartment in a rundown building and enrolled in a local college, majoring in environmental science. It was a field that had fascinated her since childhood, when she'd spend hours exploring the woods around Mahoning Hollow. Here, in the city, her ideas were no longer dismissed. Her professors encouraged her curiosity and praised her innovative thinking. "Lena, you have the potential to change the world," one of her professors told her after she presented a project on sustainable farming methods. For the first time, Lena felt seen and valued for who she was. Life in the city wasn't easy. Lena worked 2 part-time jobs to pay for tuition and rent. She faced moments of doubt and loneliness, especially during the holidays when she thought of her family back in Mahoning Hollow. But she refused to give up. Every challenge only strengthened her resolve. Over the years, Lena's hard work paid off. She graduated with honors and landed a job with a nonprofit organization dedicated to combating climate change. Her role involved working with rural communities to implement sustainable practices, a mission that felt deeply personal to her. Lena's work took her to remote corners of the country, where she helped farmers adopt eco-friendly techniques and introduced renewable energy solutions to small towns. Her innovative ideas and tireless dedication earned her recognition. She was invited to speak at conferences, featured in magazines, and even appeared on a popular morning show. Despite her success, Lena couldn't help but think about Mahoning Hollow. She wondered if the villagers had heard of her achievements or if they still saw her as the rebellious girl who didn't belong. The thought lingered in the back of her mind, but she pushed it aside. She had built a new life, one where she was valued and respected. One rainy afternoon, as Lena sat in her office reviewing a proposal for a new project, her assistant walked in with a letter. "This came for you," she said, placing the envelope on Lena's desk. Lena picked it up and immediately recognized the handwriting. It was from Mahoning Hollow. She hesitated for a moment before opening it. The letter was from the village council, and its tone was both formal and desperate. "Dear Lena, we've heard of your work and the impact you've made in communities across the country. Mahoning Hollow is facing a crisis. Our crops are failing, our water supply is dwindling, and our young people are leaving in search of better opportunities. We need your help. We understand that we did not value you when you lived here, and for that, we are deeply sorry. But we hope you can find it in your heart to return and help us rebuild our village. Sincerely, the Mahoning Hollow Village Council. Lena read the letter twice, her emotions swirling. Part of her wanted to ignore it. After all, these were the same people who had rejected her, who had made her feel like she didn't belong. But another part of her, the part that had dedicated her life to helping others, couldn't turn away. When Lena arrived in Mahoning Hollow, she was struck by how much had changed, and how much had stayed the same. The houses looked older, the streets quieter. The once vibrant community seemed weighed down by hardship. The villagers gathered in the town square to greet her. Their faces were a mix of hope and guilt. Lena stood before them, her red hair now streaked with hints of silver, and took a deep breath. "I'm here to help," she said. "But it's going to take all of us working together." Over the next several months, Lena worked tirelessly to implement changes. She introduced sustainable farming techniques, helped the villagers set up a rainwater harvesting system, and brought in solar panels to provide reliable energy. She also held workshops to teach the younger generation about environmental stewardship, hoping to inspire them to stay and invest in their community. At first, there was resistance. Some villagers were hesitant to embrace new methods, clinging to the old ways out of fear and habit. But Lena's patience and determination won them over. She listened to their concerns, adapted her plans to suit their needs, and celebrated every small victory with them. Slowly but surely, Mahoning Hollow began to thrive again. The fields turned green, the water flowed freely, and the village came alive with a renewed sense of purpose. The people who had once rejected Lena now looked to her as a leader and a source of inspiration. One evening, as the village gathered for a celebration in the town square, Lena's mother approached her. Tears glistened in her eyes as she took Lena's hands in her own. "I'm so sorry for how we treated you," she said. "We didn't see your worth back then, but we see it now. You've given us so much, and we're so proud of you." Lena hugged her mother tightly, feeling a sense of closure she hadn't realized she needed. For the first time in years, she felt truly at peace. Lena's impact on Mahoning Hollow extended far beyond the immediate changes she implemented. The village became a model for sustainable living, attracting visitors and researchers who wanted to learn from their success. Young people who had once left returned, inspired by Lena's vision and determined to carry it forward. As for Lena, she continued her work as an environmental advocate, but she always made time to visit Mahoning Hollow. It was no longer just the place she had grown up, it was a symbol of resilience, redemption, and the power of embracing change. Years later, when Lena was asked to speak at an international conference, she began her speech with the words, "Once, I was rejected by everyone in my village. But sometimes, rejection is the first step toward transformation." Her story, like the village she had helped transform, became a testament to the strength of the human spirit and the enduring power of hope.